Bam Bam. She breaks everything she touches.
Now wait, that's your wife. You're supposed to defend her.
I am. She breaks everything she touches.
It's so funny. We have a little stand that we use, right? That we put her phone in, and Martin says, "Can you tilt that down a little bit?" And she didn't know how strong she was. She tilted that thing down, and it just
cracked like thunder.
Way to go!
Yeah.
Smash.
She's like smash, smash.
So today we have a panel of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, we have Brigade with us. Hey, everybody, welcome Brigade. And Gianna's joining us because our subject is somewhat female focused, so I thought we should have a female on our panel. Rita may join in with us today, though she has a pretty busy day getting ready for a big conference. And of course, you know Martino. And over here on my right, Semaj.
Hey everybody.
I'm somewhat your host, along with everybody else, and Bruce Sophia. But anyway,
what's today's topic?
Today's topic is a hot one.
Semajes.
And it's been a hot one for 50 plus years. And that is my body, my choice.
Well, welcome to Hijack Life Live, where we believe that God rescues the dreams that have been shattered by the injustices and cruelties of life.
And that statement is perfect for today's topic because so many people's lives are negatively affected by terminating a child in the womb. And we want you to know that God can rescue that dream and take that cruelty and that injustice to the child and make something beautiful out of it if indeed you give it to him.
Well, what made you pick today's topic?
Well, before I address the question, let me say, I find it interesting that those who preach love and tolerance, right, often are only loving and tolerant towards those who agree with them.
That's a true statement.
The moment you disagree with them, it's hate speech.
Yes.
For instance, I have someone who follows me on Instagram, and I posted something regarding the Methodist Church that has now split into two fractions because one group of Methodists, what we would call the United Methodist Church, has accepted and adopted LGBTQ clergy as standard or normal. In other words, you can be a practicing homosexual and be a pastor or a bishop or whatever in the Methodist Church. And I posted a picture of it and put blasphemy and simply put, in the beginning, God created the male and female created he, them. And I got a text from this person said, I am unfollowing you because you should be ashamed of yourself. I would think that Christianity was inclusive of everybody, and this is hate speech. And that person unfollowed me. So I wrote them a rather long discourse, simply saying it's not hate speech at all. You know, God hates sin, but he loves us, and that's why there's a cross. That's the picture of the cross, is that we're all sinners. God hates sin. He sets boundaries on everything. And the cross proves that he loves us, and he did something about our sin, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? So, why this topic? What do you say we go through it? Semaj?
Yeah.
Why this topic?
So, well, number one, I mean, the ruling has been weaponized by both political parties. It has been, it's become a talking point in the upcoming 2024 election, and rather than hearing what the Democrats, Republicans, or The View think about the subject, it would be wise to see what God thinks about it. And
Hey, let's interrupt you for a second. Whose idea was it when we came? Was that Gianna's today?
For the mugs?
Yeah, she said we should have mugs that say Hijack Life Live.
AKA the other view.
But anyway.
And the last one is address the healing God offers to both the women and the man involved in an abortion.
Okay. So the controversy really has been raging for 50 years since Roe versus Wade, but it really took prominence when SCOTUS, that's the Supreme Court of the United States, overturned Roe versus Wade. So just off the top of your head, Let's start with Brigade, so he's not just standing there. He's just not sitting there making a part of this thing. Hey, Brigade.
Just listening.
So, do you know what the ruling was? Do you have any clue?
I mean, I know they got rid of it, right?
Yeah, in a sense. John is checking something out here.
I just want to make sure they could hear us because I don't have my phone, but everything looks good. Great topic.
Okay. So, do you know what the Supreme Court did? Was it just before the election?
Yeah, it was maybe
Just
a
before-
year ago, 2 years ago.
Just before the 2020 election. It was just, or was it right afterwards?
It
Well,
was.
we'll see the time.
You're
Wait,
blocking the
I think
camera.
it's here. Let's see what
sorry,
the date
guys.
was. But anyway, because it played an important part in the election when Trump ran for his second term, which was 2020.
Yeah.
So it was right about then. Do you know what it did, Gianna? Do you have any clue?
What ruling was it?
She's a girl.
Well, I'll tell you what. The ruling removes the federal mandate that abortion is a federal right in all 50 states, paid for with tax dollars.
Yeah, so that's what it did.
Yes, so each state determined if and when an abortion is performed and who pays for it. That's a whole separate topic.
Yeah.
You know, if you are pro-life, but you believe a woman can do whatever she wants to do, you should not be forced to use your tax dollars to pay for something you don't believe in.
Correct.
That's deep.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And that was one of the arguments going into it, and that's why the Supreme Court ruled the way it did, was it felt like this was unconstitutional from day one. The federal government did not have the right to say that the federal government would pay for abortions and protect that right. Let's go on.
Well, as momentous, is that the right word?
Yeah, momentous.
Yeah, as momentous as the ruling in Dobbs is, however, we need to remember that this is not an outright national ban on abortion, but by overturning Roe versus Wade, the court has simply returned the authority to regulate abortion back to the state level. And there will be an intense battle waged in all 50 states over this hot button issue. The pro-life cause has won an important battle, but the war is far from over. And that's something that
you better remember that.
Yeah, and those who value life cannot afford to become weary in well-doing and remain silent of the progress made in this ruling by the pro-life movement rule laws.
So let's go on, so people understand the ruling, including Gianna.
The overturning of Roe is also an affirmation of the right and responsibility of Christians to get involved in the political process. There was only one reason Roe was overturned. In 2016, conservative Christians worked together to elect Donald Trump, and President Trump kept his promise to appoint pro-life justices to the Supreme Court. Both the left and right agreed that Hillary Clinton, been elected, Roe would still be the law of the land today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for the 3 appointees by Donald Trump, this would never have passed.
Wow.
Yeah, and now, like, there was a recent, and I like this court. People say, oh, it's heavily favored in the conservative bent, but like today, the conservatives were pushing for something, and the vote was 7-2. So they didn't get what they wanted. But in other cases, recently it was a 9-0 ruling. Everybody agreed. So I like the balance in this court.
Everything needs balance.
Yeah, and I think this is why it's so important to get involved in the public arena. School boards, teaching positions, on every level, town councils, the state assembly, Senate, mayor, governor, federal houses, Congress, and the Senate. Listen, we did a program on this. Martin Luther King Jr. profoundly said, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. Right? Now is the time to not be silent.
Yeah.
And I think Christians were silent way too long on these kind of issues. So anyway, I was looking up some statistics, and this Guttmacher Institute reports statistics since 1973. And so let's look at some of them, Martin.
Abortion numbers are at, if you stop moving the screen.
Sorry.
Abortion numbers are at their highest in more than a decade. Guttmacher has been tracking the number of abortions abortions in the United States since 1973. The number of abortions in the United States peaked in 1990 at 1.6 million. For the year?
For the year.
Holy cow! I was born in that year.
Yeah, and do you realize that's only that we have, that's only what's reported.
1.6 million babies were aborted in 1 year. That's a whole other conversation, because out of that 1.6 million, how many were because the mom could have died or the child could have died?
We're going to look at that stat as we
Right.
go on.
Over nearly 30 years, they experienced a sustained decline, falling to 885,000 in 2017. In 2019 and 2020, however, this long-term trend started to reverse, with the numbers of abortion rising to 930 and 1.6 million in 2020. I can't even read these numbers, marking an 8% increase from 2017. Gutmacher estimated that 2023 numbers represent a substantial increase even in this historical context. It's just, I can't even get over those numbers. That's crazy.
Well, Rita Reyes, the director of Choices of the Heart, a pro-life pregnancy center in Gloucester County, states this. Since 1973, there have been over 60 million reported abortions in the U.S. The key word here is reported.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. 1 in 3 American women will have had an abortion by the age of 45.
Wow.
Jeez. Since 1980, there have been
33% of all women have had abortion by the time they're 45.
Wow. Since 1980, there have been more than 1.4 billion reported abortions worldwide, which is more than the population of China.
Can you believe it?
It's crazy, these numbers.
Less than 1% of all abortions performed in the United States are due to rape or incest or in cases in which the mother's life is threatened. Less than 1%.
Yeah, stop there for a moment. So, I don't know. I'm watching the Phillies game. So it seems to be two political ads that run. One is relational to the border.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that.
Yes.
And the other is they have a woman get on there and talk about, if Trump gets elected, he'll do away with my right to be aborted because I was raped or I was whatever it was, incest, or the child was going to be deformed. But look at that statistic. Less than 1% of all abortions performed in the United States are due to rape or incest or in cases where the mother's life is threatened. 1%.
That's crazy.
So that means that the other 99% are
It's
elective,
birth control.
elective abortion.
It's just
Right.
birth control.
It's an elective abortion.
Yep. So Rita said, it is not uncommon for me to see a 20-year-old come into the office who has undergone multiple abortions. Abortion is being used as a means of birth control. Like Uncle Marty just said, the children in America who were born after 1973 have only known a nation with legalized abortion. So abortion to them is a normal part of life.
So Rita continues, like the children who grew up on plantations in the South during the 1800s, who were not shocked by the inhumanity of slavery because it too was legal and a normal part of life. They were desensitized, as we are desensitized today, to the horrors of abortion. The debate over slavery tore the fabric of our nation apart, and to this day we are still feeling the repercussions. And can we say that abortion is doing the same thing?
I just can't get over the numbers still. Man.
What stood out to me in Rita's speech was when she said, abortion promises what it can never deliver. The pregnancy may be gone, but oftentimes that decision has unforeseen and tragic consequences of its own. Many women and men come to Choices of the Heart to receive healing from a past abortion. Because they are suffering from depression, drug addiction, suicidal thoughts, anxiety attacks, and infertility due to past abortion. If you have been affected by abortion, Choices of the Heart is here to serve you by helping you find peace and restoration through the Word of God, because there is no sin out of the reach of God's forgiveness.
Wow.
That's
That's
powerful.
well said.
So let's ask a question to the viewer, those who are watching, and to our team. So I'm going to start with you, Brigade. Why do you think people get abortions?
Because they either don't want the baby, don't want to take care of it, or just being unresponsible. And I mean, you have to, if you're gonna do the deed, you gotta pay the price. If that's what happens, you know what I mean. So,
What do you think? Gianna?
Yeah, I think that women just are irresponsible in the fact that if you're gonna
Get
go
pregnant,
ahead and
have sex.
risk that,
Yeah.
that it comes with a huge responsibility if in case you aren't safe. So it's only fair that you do the right thing. But women, I'm not sure what it is, but like that, what we just read, women do it time and time again, multiple abortions. Then they have infertility problems when they actually want a child. But what about the children that you aborted along the way?
Yeah.
What about their means of life?
Right.
Well,
But where are you?
It's
Martin?
all over the place because I think they believe a lie.
What's the lie?
Well, the lie is that it's your body, your choice. That is a lie.
But the
Yeah.
thing you're taking out isn't your body.
Right, what you're taking out is not your body. And I've said this time and time
That's a good
again.
point.
If
Okay.
we go out to dinner and we have a couple cocktails and I slip off the road because I'm tipsy and I hit a car and kill a pregnant woman, I'm charged with a double murder.
Yep.
So pick your choice. It's either a baby or it's not, but you can't choose when it's a baby and when it's not. And the lie also is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is the #1 abortion farm on the planet. And it was founded by a racist woman. Semaj will testify to that story.
I'm coming next.
And it was planted in black communities to try to thin the population. And to this day, that racist is still honored by Planned Parenthood. To this day. And a lot of blacks don't know that. That is a fact. You can look it up online.
So I'm going to change gears here now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, when we sat down and we had lunch with Abby Johnson, I said, Abby, why is it that a lot of... I switched gears. I forget exactly what I said to her, but I said, why is it that no one is refusing to accept the terrible origin story of Planned Parenthood? And she looked at me and she said, do you know who's one of the founders of Volkswagen is? And I was like, no. She said, you know, Adolf Hitler is a founder of Volkswagen. She's like, you would never know that. Why? Because they want to... Well, Volkswagen has done whatever they could to separate themselves from that horrible history
Right.
that Adolf Hitler has, that he created.
Right.
So she said, they can't say that, oh, those are no longer our intentions, but they still honor their founder over and over and over and over again. When have you ever seen Volkswagen honor their founder?
Never.
You've never seen them honor Adolf Hitler.
No.
But Planned Parenthood is constantly honoring Margaret Sanger. And so the frustration that I have as a black man in America is that you've never seen a Planned Parenthood in the suburbs. They're always in low-income areas where Hispanics and blacks are the highest population in the area. Why is that? That's not by coincidence. If you Google right now on your phone, you'll see Camden, you'll see Paulsboro, you'll see Philadelphia, you'll see all the places that have a large number of...
And every
people of
Ivy
color.
League college across the country has done studies on this. This is not an opinion.
This is a fact. And so the part that's frustrating to me is that when I see especially women of my community, you know, taking part in these things, you're literally, you're feeding into what they wanted to do all along. Because Margaret Sanger said, word for word, the Negro race is the fastest growing race. We have to do whatever we can to stop their growth.
But yet they still give out the Margaret Thatcher Award every year. It's Sanger. I don't even want to say her name. It's so mind-baffling. And, you notice none of us have talked about a woman who was raped, a woman with incest, or a woman where the doctor says the child could die or the mother could die, because that is so small. I would never tell a woman that you can't have an abortion if you're going to die and you choose that you want to live because you have 4 other kids. That's not my business nor my place. I'm not even addressing that. I'm addressing the birth control factor.
Yeah. Well, it's 1% for all of those reasons.
It's crazy.
But I think we need to come back to something. Gianna talked about people assuming responsibility for their behavior, and Brigade said the same thing. We have to put ourselves in this position. So I'm a father, and we're a family. We have a 14-year-old girl who now gets pregnant. The reality is, if she has a baby, it changes her whole future.
And the family's future.
And the future. It changes the parents' future, because if they decide to walk with her, because they're the only one, whoever got her pregnant isn't going to walk with her through this, in more cases than not, right? So now the baby becomes an interruption to the plan or the goals that the parents had for this young girl. So it's interesting how many Christians I talk to who have a stand that abortion is wrong until it's their daughter that gets pregnant at 14.
That's how it always is.
Or 15 or 16 or 17. Now they have to deal with, can you trust God? Because God is the author of life. He opens and closes the womb.
I look at it like this.
Right? So if I'm a
course.
family, I have to say, now wait a minute. This is what I can do. We don't want to interrupt our daughter's plans. We think at 15 she's not going to be a responsible mother. That's the furthest thing from her mind. We don't need another child, at this age. But what we can do is have the child and put the child up for adoption.
That's where I'm
and
going.
give that child to someone who has wanted a baby.
Do you know how many people cannot adopt? There are no, let me rephrase it so I don't get blasted. There are a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of Americans up for adoption. My clients have to spend their life savings and adopt kids from Asia, Korea.
Right.
There's no babies to be adopted here. I mean, I'm Egyptian. I was adopted, and she was supposed to get an abortion, but back then she was too far pregnant. So, but my parents, Irish, adopted an Arab. Even back then. But when you see these numbers, 1.6 million babies murdered in 1 year, I can't wrap my head around that number.
There's a lot of comments on here.
That are reported.
Somebody should throw it up on their phone.
Oh, you got your phone?
There's a lot.
We'll get Brigade to pull them up. Let's go on. We'll come back. We'll take our comments.
When I was at Dell State on a story, this came up in a topic of discussion, and I shared how I felt. I was called a misogynist. I was called a sexist. I was called a sellout. All types of things. And I said, and I literally looked at everyone in the room and I said, if I'm all those things, right? I said, the problem with our community is that we're so pro-black, we're so stupid. And everyone was like, what do you mean? I said, we're so pro-black that we believe the lie of things, that these things are helping our communities and all types of things, and we become brainwashed and we become stupid. I said, do me a favor. I said, look up the origin of Planned Parenthood and then tell me if I'm a sellout.
Well, I'm going to come back to what this president said. If you ain't black,
if you can't decide if you're for me or something,
if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And I'm thinking, if I was a
That's
black
so
person,
racist.
if I was a black person,
got
we'll do that. But if I was a black person and I heard that, you wouldn't get my vote.
Not getting mine.
You just proved you were a racist and that you're
embarrassed
saying
to
I'm
watch that.
stupid. And if I vote for you, I am stupid.
Let's hear these.
You guys have to clarify something, because this person said, or because they can't physically carry without serious harm or life to the mother, which you guys already addressed to. Somebody said that's rare. She said not too rare, but when you work in the medical field, you're exposed to more than the normal individual. Just think all the opinions and voices are important in such an intense conversation, but it just feels one-sided. This is why I never get into these debates, because it's not easy. It will never be a simple, easy debate or conversation. Wish peace to all.
Well, let's address that. Every one of us on this panel would say that if it meant the life of the mother, then you would terminate. If it's a medical situation where the mother's life was at stake, I don't think anybody here would be opposed to that.
No, I've said that multiple times, and we're only addressing the ones that use it as birth control, because out of 1.6 billion, it's more than 1.5 billion that were used as birth control.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yes, that's correct. Anyway, any other thoughts?
That everybody else is just saying very true, amen.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad the lady spoke up.
No, she has a right.
Yeah.
I'm happy that she spoke up. And it just proves that you can disagree and have a decent conversation without it turning into what we see on the news.
Yeah, you don't agree with me, I'll cut you off.
And that's the part that bothers me. Like, I've had plenty of these conversations, and it always ends up being like a witch hunt. And it's like...
She said thank you. I never agree with using birth control, with using it as birth control whatsoever.
So she's a very smart woman. Kudos to her.
Right. And you know what's interesting? If we look at this, when we go through the law, and there were birds in a bird's nest. The only time you were allowed to remove the birds from, or the eggs from the nest, was if the mother's life was at stake.
Wow.
Well,
So draw a little parallel, right?
How about when a giraffe gets pregnant And it's a big thing on the news that this giraffe's pregnant, and they put a camera in the barn and they monitor the mother, and then when the giraffe is born, it's a big celebration.
Yeah.
Well, what was it when it was in the mother's womb?
Yeah.
It's just still that baby, it's just
Right.
inside the womb.
And if you terminated that giraffe in
You
the
go to
womb,
jail.
oh, God,
Oh,
have mercy.
Peter
Just
be
like a
on
whale.
Peter be on you like
But let's go back. Can I just address
Yeah.
the lie real quick?
Yeah.
Here's the lie, Planned Parenthood. And Abby Johnson sued and won, right? They use it as an abortion farm. They don't go in with an ultrasound and guide the probe because it takes too much time and
Yep.
they have to do it every 15 minutes. So
Yep.
what do? They go in and randomly probe, and women hemorrhage, women bleed to death. You don't hear all those stories, but from Abby Johnson, who worked there all the way at the top and exposed them in the movie Unplanned, you get to see the reality and you get to expose the lie.
Yeah.
And wasn't it also proven that weren't they like selling like parts like different parts and stuff like for like
Right. And they use that for scientific research.
We do
Or
recommend
medical.
for you to either read or watch the movie
Unplanned.
Unplanned by Abby Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Somebody said, our son is adopted from Korea. After we exhausted so many options here in the States, I thank God every day that his parents selected adoption. He has made our family whole and filled our hearts with joy every day.
Hey, I say the same thing.
Kudos
Yeah.
to that family.
And I'll say the same thing about Eden. There's so many times when I'll say to Cheryl, wow, think, if her mother had aborted her, we would never have Eden in our family.
Please tell everybody who Eden is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Eden just turned 10. My daughter adopted her when she was 7 weeks old.
And what color?
No,
is it?
7 days.
what's her makeup?
What color
No,
is she?
7 weeks.
What color is
Oh,
she?
she's black.
And you're what?
White as they come.
No, he's black too.
Yeah, I am.
So you're
I
white.
a little soul with me.
So your white daughter adopted a 7-week-old black girl
Yeah.
and gave her the life that she deserved.
Oh, and she's the joy. And you know what's interesting? Because her mother was a coke addict. What was interesting is when we got her, she was so depressed.
Oh,
And it must have been from the coke.
Yep.
And now she's just the happy.
She is
go-lucky,
so
isn't
awesome.
She's the
Yeah.
sweetest
She's
kid.
beautiful. She's
Gorgeous.
kind.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
She's the
she is.
sweetest
She's
kid
a little
ever.
too gentle, especially when she plays basketball. I tell her, get out there. Get tough out
She
there.
doesn't. She
girl.
doesn't. She doesn't
Get
like
tough
Jada
out
though.
there. Oh, she doesn't like.
She doesn't
that.
like
She's
Jada
jealous
at all.
of it.
She
That's why.
she doesn't like
likes
Jada
you.
at all.
That's
I'll never forget.
She's got a crush on you.
Aw.
She was like
Just
6.
hang around a little bit. You marry him young.
He's great. And she was like 5 or 6 years old, right? And we had our church picnic, and she walked up to me and said, "Is that your girlfriend?" And legit like this. And Jada tapped me and said, "She wants to kill me." I just
Anyway, so we're probably getting a little long here. Why don't we come back to this subject? I'd like to talk about where forgiveness is found, because I think that's important.
yeah.
Because I remember when we used to have women speak about abortion. The one woman, I forget her name now, but she had never used the word since her abortion. It was 10 years later that she addressed it from the pulpit.
Oh wow.
And she said, this is the first time I've used the word abortion, because that's how much it affected her. But she found healing in Christ. And I think we should talk about the healing aspect.
Definitely.
And I guess we should really wrap up. What do you think? Oh, so that's just for a moment. You touched on it. So Rob Halligan, we had him come in one Sanctity of Life. You remember he was Kaylee Ring, the Irish group where they played the accordion and the bagpipes.
What year was this, PJ?
What, you were alive?
What year was this?
Maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
listen to what he said. I was born, Mother Ann had me. Was no different in the 50s. 2 hearts on love's seas got tossed. She got pregnant. He got lost. How she cried and prayed for answers. Who in the world would help her? Then she got the strangest notion. It seems she should spell abortion, A-D-O-P-T-I-O-N. Adoption. Yeah, she was my only friend. But now look, Lord, look at them. Look at all of them. A-D-O-P-T-I-O-N. Adopt. Mary Beth told her mother, when she could no longer cover up what she and Dave had done. Mom said, you're not the only one. I had you, so I know the worry. What's this thing inside my body? What's happening to your body? That's yours to say. But this one has different DNA. ADOPTION.
I remember that.
ADOPTION.
That's beautiful.
Rob Halligan Jr.
I think the most profound part of that is that what's inside you has a different DNA. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's fair to say that it's my body, my choice. It is your body, but it's also a baby in there that has
Choice.
different DNA, and that baby's
And
got,
they
where's
have a
his
heart,
choice?
and
And you know what's
heartbeat as early
interesting?
as
I loved what he said. But
few
what
weeks
Gates said when he
conceived.
said, but it's where's the baby's choice? And what's interesting is when they go to abort and they use that vacuum cleaner, the baby runs.
Oh yeah,
from
it cringes.
in the womb.
It cringes.
Runs from
Yeah.
wants to live. Don't we all want to live? Really?
We do,
Well,
but
and the
especially
baby's
when we're young.
heart, the baby has a heartbeat at how many days after
Oh yeah, that was
conception?
part of your line. Was it 17 weeks?
But Uncle Mark,
22 to 23 days after
but Uncle Mark
conception.
is something
22
right
to
up.
23
He said,
days.
why is it?
Has a heart.
It doesn't matter if a woman is 1 week along, a month along, whatever. If I kill a woman that has life inside of her stomach, it's ruled
a double
Well,
murder.
you know, that's why they don't. That's why they don't argue it anymore. That it's a child, because modern medicine tells us that in 22 to 23 days you're hearing a heart.
so they stop that and go to just about
yeah,
choice.
it's just
Well,
about my body.
I know we're going to close, but I want to leave this because I know we'll take this up next week. That whether somebody has an abortion, whether somebody cheats on their taxes, or whether somebody flips the bird to their mean neighbor, just know a sin is a sin in God's eyes, and they're all forgivable.
Right. Repercussions are different,
Sure.
but in terms of salvation, they're all forgiven.
So-
there is no sin question when it comes to salvation.
No, and,
No
and,
sin.
and I know this from working with women for 30 years. Women that have abortions need love and they need forgiveness because it's something they carry with them usually their whole life.
Yeah, and what about the men? I know men that have come to me and they encourage the woman to have an abortion, and they're living with that guilt. We think that the man never deals with the guilt.
I never thought of that. Hey, listen, if you'd like a copy of today's transcript, put it in the comments, and Pastor Bruce will make sure we get one sent to you emailed. If there's something you'd like us to discuss here on Hijack Life Live, aka The Other View, you can also put that, and we will address it as soon as we can. Hey, Pastor Bruce, what does this weekend look like with Blake at the Gloucester County Community Church?
Sign showing. SIGNSHOWING. Sign showing. So whatever that means, we're going to find out.
Well, on that note,
Thank
Yeah.
you all for joining Hijack
Yeah.
Life, aka The Other View, every Thursday at 12:30.
Yeah, we're going to close with this. Are you guys ready?
I'm out. I just got booted. 1, 2, 3.
Live for Jesus, and even a bad day will be a good day. Love you guys.
Love y'all. Peace and hair grease.